Welcome to Nerdist Book Club, formerly known as Alpha Book Club, and we had our own merch and mugs. It's so exciting. Hi there. If you are watching on Nerdist's YouTube, a big hello to you. I'm going to pull up the chat so I have it. Don't know why I didn't do it earlier, but hi. And if you're joining us on Geek and Sundry's Twitch, should also sub over to Nerdist's YouTube. Hello there. Whoa. My name is Maude Garrett. Joining me as always, we've got Rachel Heine and Hector Navarro. Hello, best trio in the world.
Hello. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I'll take it.
We've had a bit of heat in our group chat lately, huh?
Yes. Some things probably need to come to light today.
A little bit of heat.
I was already planning on opening the show by talking about it, but then I received a text from Hector this morning and wanted to make sure that I wasn't, hiding anything.
Can I just say before you continue talking, Java Book Geek Girl, no idea why I'm picking a side, but I'm usually safe with hashtag Team Rage.
I am pretty bummed that I haven't seen a single Team Hector in the chat. So, okay, cool.
Where's Team Maude?
There's a couple in there. Relax. There's a couple Team mods.
Good.
Okay. So I read the whole book.
Boo.
Come on,
Boo. Boo.
I'm sorry. I finished this section and I tried to stop. And I made a choice. I'm not making up any excuses. I just had to finish it. I had to finish it.
The comments are like, oh, Rachel? Yes, your beloved Rachel.
I'm sorry.
Perfect Rachel.
Shame.
I deserve shame. And also, look, you can rewrite history if you want, both of you. But I was upset that you didn't tell us, Maude, that you tried to hide it.
But I wonder why.
I've said on many occasions, if you're going to read it early, like live your life. That's not how I normally do it in 4 years. But
that's true, Rachel, but
look,
you know what? Maude is not on trial right now. The trial of Maude has come and gone, and she has.
I have been like the vegetables have been thrown, the hair has been cut, the walk has
feel like
been
most
cut.
of those came from Hector, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, they did, rightfully so, because
Hector
Maude betrayed us and lied and didn't tell us that she had read ahead. And Rachel
I went to have the actual standard conversation about the book to everyone. That's all I did. I feel like it would be a lot more difficult to be like, I kind of read ahead. So, every single thing we would talk about, everyone would be looking at my face to be like, well, and I'd be like, Like,
no, you're right.
I didn't want to have like, any
sort
of like indication that
I will obviously not make any guesses. Nor do I think that any of us could.
To be fair, to be the most fair, this all started when I texted these two knuckleheads and I said, oh no, I accidentally read one chapter ahead.
I was just one chapter. I didn't know how much it was ahead.
I freaked out.
A lot.
I freaked out. And that's when Rachel was like, I read the whole book. And I was like,
that is not how I did it.
She was like, that's cute. Hold my beer. I read the whole book. No. And now I am holding her beer. But look, let me defend myself for a second, because I have
no one is asking you to, but go ahead.
I will, Your Honor. Here's my defense. Every week when we do the show, at the end of the show, we announce the homework, the reading homework for the next week, whether it's starting a new book, the first handful of chapters, or finishing the book, or a section in the middle. If it's a section in the middle, I will take my normal bookmark, which is a comic book trading card, and I normally have two when we're in the middle of the book. So I have a trading card that's holding my place, and then I have another bookmark that's the point we have to read to, right? For some reason, I grabbed my book today because I read our assignment for today's show right now, earlier today during the day. So I had a bookmark at chapter 20, which was where we were supposed to stop. But for some reason, I thought it was the bookmark from last week. And so I started reading chapter 20. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't remember any of what's going on.
Oh, so you read. You
Was
read
it-
21 before you read.
We were
The
supposed to
homework?
go 13 through up to 20,
20.
right?
No, through 20.
including 20. So you think you
You
read
didn't
ahead,
even
but
read
you read what we were supposed to. This
Wait,
is great.
are you sure it's including 20?
Yeah.
Because I checked, I listened, I went
21.
back and listened to the show. Normally it's through blank, and then that means we have to stop there.
Stop at 21. I remember that because I was like, that's the legal drinking
Stop
age.
at 21, really? So
Why is
I didn't even
Mike all the way over there? My God, I'm sorry, guys.
Well, the
I didn't
chat
even mess up
can-
at
chat
all.
You
confirm
didn't
or
mess up.
deny.
My
13
chat's going off.
13
My
through
name has been a
20?
verbiage now where it's like if you read ahead, it's called pulling a Maude Garrett. Awesome. John Adams asked, does this mean that Rachel is now Team Maude?
I've always been Team Maude.
That's true. That is actually really true. Clever Girl says, look, it was so hard to stop this time, which I agree. And the Tamaranian just wants to bring it on. Maude is more duplicitous in her read-aheadedness.
That
saying
explanation
the
actually
word
makes sense because I don't have a great poker face, but I wanted to be honest.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I apparently somehow just complimented Alexa and she's just here going, oh, thank you. That was really nice. And I'm like,
We're not talking. Sorry. Thank you. We're not talking to you. Please don't take over the world. Thanks.
As always, we chat about how we found this last section only. So I kind of want to know what everyone thought about this section. But if this is your first time joining us, obviously a big hello. We're not usually, there's not this much animosity between.
No, we love each other.
Let's start with Rachel. What's your overall thought? Section 13 through 20. Go through that.
Yeah,
Just
section
that section.
13
Go.
through 20, I loved. I was fascinated. I was horrified, and I couldn't stop reading it.
Okay. All right.
We are reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and it is a very, very good book. And I stopped where I was supposed to stop. Hector stopped a little bit before, but then he kept reading up until where he was supposed to stop, which is hilarious.
I read all of chapter 20 and I went, okay, how far are we supposed to go? I know we're not supposed to finish the book. Then when I went and checked our stuff, it said through 20 and I went, oh crap, I started there. So I had actually read that entire chapter. So I read up to 21, but then went back and read 13 through.
That's what I was asking. So you read, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
How did you find
Very
that?
interesting. Very interesting. We could talk about
Chapter
it.
20 is like, it starts to come together.
Careful.
Max Bar said chapter 19 was
You're
the
gonna
most
do that
horrifying.
to me the whole time. I'm not gonna spoil it.
Okay.
Wait, Max Bar said chapter 19 was the most horrifying thing I ever read. So I couldn't wait to stop with 20. Needed a break. Wow.
Yeah, reading 20 without context was nutty. And then I went back and got the context. And I still am going to reread it later because I'm like, what? So, yeah.
Hector, what did you think about this chunk of the book?
I dug it. I thought it was great. I read it in a weird order. I don't know if you guys know that. So the first chapter that I read was the one where lots of revelations come to light. And I was like, okay. Then when I realized that I wasn't supposed to have started there, it did change how I read all of the sections up to that. Anytime the story would drop clues that would hint to some of those revelations and some of those answers in the chapter that I read, I was kind of like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. That checks out. So it was an interesting, getting the solution to a mystery or one of the mysteries, and then going back and, watching a Scooby-Doo episode in reverse where you're like, yeah, this is pretty obvious.
I would be mad. I would start it and be like, wait a sec. I love trying to solve it. Hence why I had no self-control, because this one really stumped me and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
That was my midnight on the Orient Express. I was like,
yes.
I have to know, because there were just it could have been anyone. And then it turns out it was everyone. But what? Yeah, but I hear you on that. I feel like we can all agree that by the middle of the book, we were wanting a little bit more. There was a lot of vagueness. There was a lot of, well, this could be this could be that. And we just wanted something a little bit more tangible. But by the end of this section, we got all of it hand delivered, actually mouth delivered. That was revolting. And then it was like, here, let me tell you everything that's happened. Now that you've reached this point and now that you're trapped, I'm just going to tell you absolutely the entire history. And that's why, while he's talking about it, that's when you can kind of piece together the things that have happened. But listening to this section the second time, because I didn't read ahead, I definitely noticed more and more Naomi just making sense of things herself.
Yes,
so she will explain things. And she's like, I don't know what's happening here, but it has to be this. And I'm assuming it's that. And I think the assumptions are a lot more apparent now, and that she's just kind of like filling in the blanks. And I'm wondering as a reader, if like maybe the first time you're just going along with that going, yeah, that makes sense. But then the second time you're like, oh girl, open your eyes, like take in the actual data.
I feel like when we have talked about it so far before this section of the book, we also were kind of debating, like, do we think there are ghosts, like ghosts? Do we think that it's like, you know, I feel like one of us, maybe it was me, like brought up how hauntings can be like memories, like looping, much like in like Hill House and things like that, or Bly Manor, or is it a scientific explanation or a combination? And I think we all kind of felt like there was going to be some sort of combination, but this obviously, I don't think anyone could have predicted the specifics we've received so far, but
there's no supernatural, like in terms of ghosts.
Not in how we think about supernatural. Like it is scientific, it's just like so outside of the realm of what we understand, I think that. But it is also like there is this pageantry about it as well. This like, you know, it has like religious culty undertones from its origins, but it still is like, it's almost like an alien, you know, like an alien movie where, and I think we were all saying it reminded us of like Hill House or one of those meets Annihilation. I feel pretty confident in that description, and that's how I will sell it to people moving forward. Be like, you gotta read this, it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Islands Casper says this section was intense and hard to get through at points, but also really hard to put down. Yeah, stopping was definitely hard, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going now. I will say reading this book before bed was definitely a mistake at times though. And Tim and Daisy, I think Tim and Daisy following me on Twitch?
I think so, yeah.
That's sweet. If they're not awkward. I really like the author's writing style. And I'm going to one up that as well and say I really liked the narrator matched with the author's writing style, because a lot of the time she's speaking in a very factual, matter-of-fact way, even though she's quite a wistful person. And I liked that because when she does these, oh, well, this is what it must be, you know, like the assumptions I was just talking about earlier, when she does it in such a matter-of-fact way, it actually disguises that a lot more. So it kind of means that filling in the blanks and done in a matter-of-fact way doesn't mean that it's like oh, wait a second, that's not what actually could have happened. Oh, wait a second, she's, you know, it's all a little bit more superfluous, but when it's done in that way, good decision.
Yeah, I have been reading it, alternating chapters. I did it today too, reading a chapter of Mexican Gothic, and then especially before bed, reading a chapter of Mexican Gothic in the past couple of weeks, and then following it up with a chapter from a Star Wars book, and then I go to sleep. So it's like creepy, and then I go to Galaxy Far, Far Away, and it's like pew pew, and then I go to bed. So
mine's been a little bit the same. I'm on the last book of the Throne of Glass series that we're about to start next week.
Oh, so this book right here, boom.
That's the one. So you know, it's the same thing. It's like, bleh, 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 bleh. And then it's like, yay, fighting, love, awesome.
There's 11 books in this series. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No.
I love a good series. I just was listening to it before bed and had weird dreams.
Oh, there's a trigger warning for chapter 1 as well. I thought we had to read chapter 1, so I read it ahead of time, and trigger warning for those that need it. So Miss Necromancer actually read ahead as well. Just like, hey.
Throne of Glass, okay.
Miss Necromancer read it as well. Okay.
Ooh, I love a good map. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I've never seen the map because I've only listened to the book every time. We had a trigger warning for chapter 17 as well for this book. One of our wonderful listeners, audience members, community members gave us the heads up for that one.
Club members.
And Antonio Vargas was like, hey, whoever did that, thank you so much. I really needed that going into it.
Yep. I would agree with that.
What happened in chapter 13?
There is another one at the beginning of the next section, 21.
That's all Howard, old man gross Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had a granddad. I'm kind of relieved because why are they all, not all, but like so many granddads are pervy, aren't they?
I only had one, but he was pretty nice.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I interviewed Michael Caine, and like the first thing that he asked me was how I got my leather pants on, and then followed up with, more importantly, how do you take them off?
Michael
Caine.
He's just such an old man. Like, I'm old. I ran out of F's a while ago.
Yeah.
And I just get Howard vibes from that, you know?
Yeah.
Except he didn't quite run out of F's because like that takes a lot of effort with a lot of F's to maintain his state. But anyway, we'll talk about how we get there. Chapter 13, Naomi returns to the high place, goes to see Catalina. She wants to host a mini casino night, hence the cards that she picked up in the village. But when Catalina takes the medicine from Marta, she has a seizure. First of all, it seemed okay. Then it turned real scary real quick. Florence, Virgil, and Dr. Cummins are furious with Naomi. They act as though she purposely poisoned her cousin. Dr. Cummins claims that she gave Catalina opium, demands to know where she got it from, and Naomi refuses to answer, even though she's like, she asked me to get it for her, and I just did what she wants to do because I'm on her side. So if she says it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, they provide some fact. Well, you gave her something that made her sick. And she's like, well, yeah, but, and it's like, no buts.
My intention. Yeah.
And she spirals. Virgil speaks with Naomi alone and scolds her, even grabbing her injured wrist. She's livid with him, but also full of guilt and shame over accidentally hurting Catalina. I resonate with Naomi in the sense of, don't talk to me like I'm a little brat of a child.
Yep.
I don't respond well to that.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
I know we talked about this before in previous sections, but Naomi is really good at playing by the rules, but still being able to get what she needs to get done. And I can relate to that, except in these couple chapters, I felt like I was frustrated with Naomi because I'm like, you're losing it, girl. You're losing your sort of any semblance of control that you had, and you're kind of letting everybody get to you. So for example, in this situation, if I were Naomi, I'd be like, I did not intend to get this for her. Why don't you get your ass in the car? Nice dude's going to drive you and me, Florence, or you and me, Virgil, down to the doctor who I got this thing from, who she asked me to get. And then we'll ask them what the hell was in it, because it wasn't something that I did. Like I would try to, you know, defend myself and say, okay, yeah, if what you're saying is true, I absolutely did not mean to do that. Now let's go hold somebody accountable for whose fault it actually is. And I feel like she just kind of, it's just like, oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. And I'm like, Naomi, what's going on? Come on.
I will say, number one, I think that she, given all of the stories she's heard about the Doyles and how they interacted with the town and the village, she probably, like, there's a reason she didn't tell them about Marta, because she didn't want something mysterious to happen to them. But I also think that the time that she's been in the house, the, you know, other stuff notwithstanding, she's being gaslit to an extreme degree. And like, no matter how it's, if someone is good at it and you're in it long enough, you start feeling like you're crazy.
Yep.
And like, maybe it is my fault. Maybe I am the bad person. Well, I did give it to her. I didn't check what it was, you know, all of those things that make you question yourself. And I think when she's in her own element and when she arrives, she's got a mission and she knows what she wants to do. But like the shock of Catalina having a seizure in front of her and, you know, understandably feeling like it's her fault, but also pissed that Virgil is talking down to her and all of these things. that made sense to me, that, you know, everyone has kind of a breaking point, and hers is starting to splinter around this time.
And Miss Necromancer makes a great point. On top of that, Naomi's having a breakdown too. She's not having restful sleep. She's not eating properly. She's under stress. So even with her strong will, she just can't hold on forever, and she's cracking.
Yeah.
And Jabba Weirwood is saying Naomi was plays the game so well, but these chapters show that she is stuck in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
She's all on her own. Like, they're all in on it except her. Like, what a vulnerable and frightening position to be in as well, especially when we know what's happening. Oh, also, I gave her the trigger warning for the wrong chapter. I said 1. It's 21. 21. 2-1. So the next chapter that we read after this.
Yeah. You said the first chapter in the next section, so.
I said the first chapter in the next section. There it is. Cool. All right, good. A lot of kind of why do you think Catalina has ordered this herbal remedy, obviously from Marta, but it's a herbal thing. It's not opium at all, or opiate in substance. Noemi, did I say Noemi? I meant Noemi, not Emmy. What do you think that's about? Do you think that the substance can actually fight the mushroom and the spores within her, and it's rejecting it? Do you think that she's trying to end things? I don't actually know. I disagree with you, Nathan Swap, on that one, because this is a tonic that she's been repeatedly taking. And I think it's actually supposed to suppress being taken over by the spores and by the sort of the mushroom stuff, which is, you know, seeping in. I think it's trying to keep it at bay, but now it's probably affected her so much, and she had a lot of it. So it's had a massive chemical imbalance and reaction, and this stuff is just going like, nah, and her body shut down.
I picture Catalina as a character who would also go into town and knew Marta and it had a relationship with her and was getting help from her in some way and doing stuff sneakily until she got to a point where she's like, I have to be in bed. I'm so messed up from whatever it is that's afflicting me, that when Noemi shows up, she's like, oh, good. Can you, while I have my wits about me, can you go into town? Can you get this thing that I like? I think that it's something that has been helping her. And I feel like she knows exactly what it is. And it's just only any time that she becomes fully aware of herself and she's not kind of being taken over by the house or whatever, then she's asking Noemi to go get it.
Do you think maybe like she kept having spoonfuls knowing that it could have a really harmful effect on her, and that's a good way out?
You mean like trying to commit suicide? I don't think so. You mean like
trying to overdose,
getting sick to where like we have to take her into town to see a doctor? I'm like, no, I don't think so either. No, I do think that it was, you know, with the stuff that we learned in the last chapter, I feel like Catalina has some idea of what the house is doing to her, some idea of the spores and everything that's in the house, that I feel like she went and got help from Marta with this thing, with this elixir. And that was also really frustrating later in a chapter where Naomi goes to see her and Marta's like gone because she went to go see a family member or something like that. That really crappy, oh, isn't that convenient? She's not there right when she needs her. But yeah, Jimmy Sprinkles, this is why I thought they were in hell.
I just want to note, I feel like I kept my face extremely composed.
You did. And Lisa Hill actually said that Rachel's poker face is strong right now.
I was trying so hard.
Java Book Geek Girl says, despite the terribleness and horror that is Howard, Virgil is actually a scarier character to me at this point. I'm wondering if, because Howard, we're skipping way ahead, but we've all read the part. Howard is living through Virgil.
Yeah.
Virgil is a conduit, is a body for Howard. So that split personality. Remember last week, and I found this really fascinating, where like sometimes Virgil's really nice. Sometimes he's compassionate. Sometimes he's apologizing and he's understanding. But then he gets full creepy and weird and he says all this really hurtful stuff and he starts gaslighting. It's almost like there's two people in the same body. And I feel like Howard is that awful side of Virgil. And I wonder if Virgil's the compassionate side, because at the end of the day, they've signed up for I haven't even signed up for it. They've been handed a life sentence that they can't get out of. And that's why Francis is so defeated. Virgil, I feel like he's just been taken over a little bit too much. Oh, there you go. Miss Necromancer again. For the mushroom metaphor, Howard is the roots and Virgil is the fruiting body. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think he's just slipping in there. But like, why Virgil isn't just like, when he's in his true sense, just be like, I've got to get out of here, like chuck a roof. Yeah.
It's a good question. That's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And classism and
Yep.
all the fun eugenics, racism, xenophobia. Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. Just a real hodgepodge of nightmare evil dudes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Redundant.
But even women, Florence, not a lovely lady, not at all. And Florence won't let Naomi see Catalina or even tell her how she's doing. Frustrated, Naomi heads back to the cemetery to get away from the house and its horrible inhabitants. She goes to the Doyle family mausoleum and she finds a strange gravestone in front of the statue of Agnes, Howard's first wife, Agnes Doyle, 1885, mother. But wait a second, Agnes didn't have any children. So why is her tribute so cold and impersonal? What's going on there? What is going on there?
I don't know. I don't remember that section too well. That's interesting. Is this something that they would later reveal in the big chapter we're talking about, where like Agnes had children that then eventually became Howard himself? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? What's going on, Maude? What are you looking at?
Rachel?
What? I'm not doing anything.
She's doing good. She's not doing anything.
Good. I'm waiting for her to. It was so funny. I was like, what do you think that's about? You were like,
Okay.
I'm just looking for signs. The
Okay.
good news is I think we'll get an answer to that. So that's great. Good.
Great.
And then Naomi runs into Francis, who admits that he saw her leaving the house and came to speak with her. He tells her that what happened to Catalina is not her fault at all. In fact, it's happened before. These sorts of things where he's like telling her, Virgil, he's telling Naomi, we can't leave the house. We are trapped here. And she's just like, oh, that's probably because. And you're like, no, they're straight up telling you. Listen to what they're saying.
Mhm.
I was like, God, that's like another reason why Naomi and I are very, very similar. Listen to what they're saying because they're showing you exactly who they are and you're just pulling your own assumptions. Just listen.
Oh, yeah. I think that later with a conversation with Virgil about how he and Catalina, found each other, I was like, yes, the pattern I try to break all the time where I see rose-colored glasses. Projecting good qualities onto people who maybe don't have them, giving second and third chances to people who literally didn't ask for them. Yay. I don't do it anymore.
I'm reading all the comments.
Lots of therapy.
These comments
Yeah,
are bonkers.
It's a therapeutic book.
What?
Nick Swing 38, they ate his first wife's child. That did happen, huh? That birth, that like gray mass. They ate it and she's just like, I'm devastated, won't anyone pay attention to me? So there they killed her.
I cannot wait to see this as a show on Hulu. That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
To see how this whole thing plays out.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot I was like,
yeah.
I was like, that's so specific Hulu, but it is actually, I forgot. Like, I was like, why not one of the other ones?
Right.
I think that, it's interesting because I feel like there's sort of the Lovecraft Country approach, which like just like puts it on the table a little bit, like right from the get-go, a little bit less. There's somewhat of a mystery, but it's more so like style and these references and all of that stuff. Whereas I think like I would prefer, and obviously I would prefer this because I love mysteries, but I would prefer that sort of like it's a haunted house kind of vibe, and then little things are like you could make it. It's one of those stories to the part that we've read, even like you were saying, Maude, that once you get some of the answers, you're like that's the best, is when the pieces fit together so well that while you're going, it's not obvious. It's you have some idea of what's happening, but not really.
Yeah, none of them fit together. It's like you pulled out the pieces of this puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all face up, but they're not in the same order. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect analogy.
Yeah. It's always the puzzle.
Nice.
I love a good puzzle.
We all love a good puzzle. Frances tells Naomi she should leave, take her cousin with her. She reminds him that Virgil would never let that happen and she's not going to abandon her cousin here. Naomi then asks Frances to take her to town again so she can find out what exactly was in that tincture. Tincture is one of my favorite words. Everyone say it for me.
Tincture.
Tincture.
Oh, I'm more of a tincture.
Tincture.
Tincture. Oh, great word. And apothecary. Everyone?
Oh, yeah. Apothecary.
Oh.
Apothecary.
Yeah, I love it.
And it sounds better when you say it, Maude, because you don't have a garbage American.
Yeah.
Sounds better when it's in when Romeo and Juliet. You've got to go to the apothecary.
Yep. You mean the Baz Luhrmann version, I assume. Yes. Correct. Good answer.
Baz Luhrmann, Australia's golden child. That's right.
I've never seen Australia. I mean, I've seen the country. I've visited everywhere. I haven't watched the movie.
It's a lot. I think that if you allow the sort of musical camp to take over, you can enjoy it.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't need to see that today. That's good.
Wait, have you watched Crimson Peak yet?
No, it's not free anywhere. I had to get the upgrade of Hulu, and it's $4 on Amazon in like standard HD.
Really? That sucks.
I know.
You know what you gotta get?
Because I think when you're, I think
a job, Hector, a job.
Nope.
Oh, okay. What? I do, but yeah, go on.
You got to get Netflix through the mail, baby, where they send you DVDs through the mail. That's how you get every movie.
That's what happened before they streamed anything, and you know what? I lost a lot of DVDs.
Well, that's on.
And then I had to pay for them, and I didn't even have them. Unlike library books, where eventually, if they were late, I'd be like, well, I'll just buy it, I guess.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
It's mine. Yeah, because it's great to like charge people and criminalize education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love this country. No, I don't.
Move to Australia. Naomi has asked Frances to go into town. He begrudgingly agrees, but he's so super tired because he's so exhausted from Howard keeping them up at night. This is another great example of this. He's like, he's keeping us up. And she's had the nightmares previously. And she's tired
because heard him moaning and stuff too, which is
like the fact that the sound travels.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he's here saying we're all tired. And she's like, I'm being so self-absorbed. I'm not thinking about anyone else at the moment. And it's just like that smoking, like she's being her own smoke and mirrors kind of deal. Anyway,
we find it more of a rash. Like she is not like Catalina in that she, you know, thinks about fairy tales and magic and things like that. You know, she is.
This is gaslight taking effect. She was called a spoiled brat. And so now every time she's like, yes. And so that's conditioned her to distract herself. I am self-centered.
I am just a party girl. But I also think like part of her at some point later trying to put everything together a little bit once she, in a later chapter, I think, she's going, you know, it would make sense if Ruth and Catalina, if it was just three hysterical women. I'm not a hysterical person. So she still has some semblance of, you know, self-awareness and self-worth. And that sort of leads her to think like, it's got to be something else. Because I'm not like, this is weird, but I'm not just, you know.
Tamarini makes a really great point. The whole not talking at dinner, it's probably because the gloom acts as a wiretapping system. And if whatever they say goes straight to Howard. So they all zip it.
Well, and everyone's always saying they're, or like they come in and you're like, how did you even know I was doing whatever? Yeah.
They all know.
They knock very lightly. And then Naomi's like, there's no way that this guy heard. And then Berto's like, come in. You're like, okay.
Yeah. All the clues are there. Is Catalina suicidal? We're trying to figure out what's going on with that potion, the tincture. What is actually going on here? And Frances says it's the house. That's not sugar coating. It's mushroom coating. Like he's telling.
Alert.
Yeah.
Fire alarm. Get out. It's the house. Get out. It's the house. It's just like.
Oh man. That night.
Neon sign like, hello.
That night, of course, Naomi has another nightmare. Is this a direct quote?
Yeah.
Yes, if it's highlighted, it is a quote.
Do we know what page it's on? Hector, do you want to read it from the book?
I got it from Kindle.
Got it. The house has metamorphed in the dream, but it was not a thing of meat and sinew on this occasion. She walked upon a carpet of moss. The flowers and vines crept up the walls, and long, thin stacks of mushrooms glowed a pale yellow, lighting up the ceiling and the floor. It was as if the forest had tiptoed into the house in the middle of the night and left a part of itself inside.
I just love her writing.
Love that. And there's a few of them that she'll say where I'm just like, oh, that just hits
Yeah,
you.
you're just like, that's just evocative writing.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of got like do you remember the part in Fantasia with the little mushrooms and the flowers?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like this is happening in the house now.
Yeah. And it's like that plus, like we haven't seen Crimson Peak, but like this sort of Gothic horror, Gothic romance has that like crumbling castle type vibe, crumbling house. Everything's sort of decrepit and falling apart. It's like that mixed with the mushrooms, annihilation, this thing spreading, poison ivy and Batman and Robin,
Also, who is giving that clarity? Who just said that?
What?
Last week there was a huge discussion about why are they so fussed about her smoking in their house?
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Vargas, and that's why they don't want her smoking, because it's literally a forest. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes
sense. Ooh, Antonio Vargas says, my prediction for the ending is that the house will be burned down. Rachel? Pretty good, honestly.
Good. That was good.
I'm impressed.
I couldn't do that. I'm a terrible liar. Why do I even play Among Us or Mafia with all that? Maude, was it you? Yeah.
I'm definitely a terrible liar. I do have to tell Onus, I haven't played Among Us, but the Battlestar Galactica board game I used to play a lot with friends, and you're either like a Cylon robot. If you haven't watched it, you should.
Mm-hmm.
Or a human, so you get your loyalty card, and if you're a Cylon, you're trying to figure out who the other ones are, etc. Halfway through the game, you get a new loyalty card, so you could be awoken as a Cylon. And I always prayed that I wouldn't get Cylon because I'm a bad liar. But one time I was playing, and I was a human, and I was able to see someone's card because of whatever the game said. And I saw that it was Cylon, gave it back, and then the whole second half of the game, he was like, no, I'm not. You must have seen it wrong. And I ended up believing him because I would much rather believe. I mean, I was like 23 and very insecure, but I was like, maybe I did read it wrong. Like I was in the throes of some stuff, but I just remember thinking like, I was such an easy target because they'd be like, look at her face, she's blushing, she's doing all these things, and I'm like, no, because I know that you guys are gonna pick on me because I'm a terrible liar.
There is a board game designer watching this right now going, I just came up with my idea for the next board game. It's called Gaslight, and it's
my brother has actually just created a space game with secret Hitler. So it's like that exact thing where someone is sabotaging the ship.
I'm very bad at those because even if I'm good, no one believes me because I'm so nervous.
I recently had one where, oh my gosh, if I may, sorry, we're on a tangent here. There was five of us, right? So let's call this person Jesse. Let's call this person Faye, because they are. They were in the room, right? And then Trisha walks in, I walk in the middle, and then Michelle's behind me. We all walk into the room, right? Michelle's a little bit late. I walk in and Trisha has just been killed by Faye. And then in that meeting, Jesse says Faye wasn't even in the room because Maude, you did it. And I was there screaming, and I was like, I swear on my dog's life.
Yeah.
That was not me, that they're in it together. And he's like, but she wasn't even in the room. And I was like, but she's dead. She walked in too late, but you saw her. No, they voted me off. I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, this game is damaging.
I would believe you, Maude.
I would, because you brought up your dog's soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your dog's eternal soul.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot mess with that. All dogs go to heaven.
And it didn't even.
The end of that movie scared me so much. All right.
Hey, anyway, Naomi goes to the cemetery. Actually, Hector, do you want to take this next bit?
Yeah. Naomi goes to the cemetery, except in her dream, it's before the cemetery was ever built. Just a lonely garden where no flowers grow. Huh, so it's a memory. Interesting. She hears a scream and discovers a woman giving birth in the dirt, surrounded by candles, while a group of women tended to her and the men watched, sitting in chairs, like it was a performance in a theater. And there was a little girl, and the men and the little girl were in velvet chairs, which was insane. When the woman finally gives birth, the man with the amber ring, Dr. John Hammond, lifts the bundle up and says, "Death overcome, spared no expense." Naomi then sees that he is not holding a child, but a, quote, gray lump of flesh, almost egg-shaped, covered in a thick membrane and slick with blood. It was a tumor. It did not live, yet it pulsated gently.
Drink every time you feel pulsated.
The lump quivered, and as it did, the membrane ruptured and slid aside. It burst, sending a golden cloud of dust into the air, and the man breathed in the dust. The others seem to have forgotten the woman, all except the little girl. She wraps a white cloth over the woman's face and suffocates her. The man repeats, "Death overcome." This is all in the dream/memory, right?
Yep.
It was crazy.
Didn't
It
like
made me
that.
think of like embryonic Voldemort. It made me think
Yeah.
of, like that kind of sci-fi imagery almost, where people come out of like an incubation chamber or something. Like,
Matrix or like, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was. That's the thing. Again, when this is a show on Hulu, some parts of the show are going to be, frankly, and not in a bad way, but like boring, normal,
Oh.
just like people speaking Spanish or English with a Spanish accent, just like normal, almost like telenovela stuff are going to be some parts of the show. And then stuff like this is going to come up and people are going to go, whoa, like it's just going to flip.
I somewhat disagree, even though we have no inside knowledge of what the show is going to be, but I think it's going to be much more of a, again, like a Gothic, like Hill House,
Yeah.
Crimson Peak, like this slow burn where you're like, something is not right here, but I don't know what it is, which I think is the vibe you get up until the very end of this section that we read, where you're like, something is going on, but I have no clue what. And even when we get more information, it's still like, wait, what?
Is this when curiosity? Is this when curiosity killed the cat? Because it's like she needs to know, but it's like she also knows that she should get out of there and has for a while. Like get out. She's like, but
I also think that she's still convinced. She's still telling herself, like, I'm just having nightmares because this family is so weird and this house is gross, and maybe there's like weird mold, giving me weird dreams. Little does she know. But I feel like she's really trying to rationalize this. Like she the whole time is like, I don't really believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't believe in, this stuff. But this section is where she starts to kind of be like, I don't know.
I recently saw the episode of Buffy where Dawn makes the wish to the vengeance demon, where they can't leave the house. And I wonder if it's like almost that kind of thing where she doesn't even realize she wants to go, but she just can't. And even if she tried, she couldn't.
Yeah, they're like stuck. I thought you were going to say when she tries to revive someone from the beyond, because that one is upsetting.
Do you want to take over chapter 15, Rach?
Sure. So Francis takes Naomi to the village to see Marta, but she's not home. And Hector, you pointed out the frustration, but also possible.
Well, she's been the answer to the last two chapters. It's like, I'm going to see you, info dump. I'm going to see you, info dump. And now she's not there.
And if she had, maybe, things might have gone differently. But instead, Naomi decides to see Dr. Camarillo while she goes inside to talk to him, Francis stays outside, giving her privacy, and she's kind of relieved because she really likes Francis.
Francis is a good guy? That's another good guy thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had all been discussing, like, where do we think, his alliances lay. And so far, it seems like with the reveals that we've seen at the end that I think it was Maude, maybe you were saying that he's sort of like begrudging, or maybe Hector, one of you, because I was like, he's able, I don't trust anyone, but that he's trapped there and sort of being forced into doing what the family wants to do.
I agree. I think it's pretty clear that Francis would never read ahead, is the type of guy he is. So I think that, he just comes across as like a good dude. Whereas Virgil's like, I read the book already, and he has something.
How dare you compare me to Virgil? Are you fucking kidding me? That's too far. That is way too far. Swallow my computer shut. How dare you? Anyway, Noemi tells the doctor what happened to Catalina, and he tells her that Marta would not have given her opium. She uses remedies using local herbs and plants, not something that you could usually find at a drugstore, which reminded me, oh, right, in the 50s, you could just buy opium sometimes. And then Dr. Camarillo is like, hey, can I, check out your wrist while you're here? I'm surprised to see that it's healed in 2 days, way quicker than he would have expected. Again, there are little kernels being sort of.
At this point, I knew why that happened again, because I read the chapter with all the answers. So I was like, okay, cool, checks out.
Chapter 20. Oh my God, that's so. Oh, that's weird. I would. Yeah. They go back to the house, and Florence tells Noemi that Virgil would like to speak with her. Suddenly, she's in Virgil's room, alone with him. His room is super creepy. There's a giant portrait of Howard on the wall. He's got this like dressing divider screen that's like covered in snakes and very like, actually reminded me of Lovecraft Country and the like subverted Garden of Eden from that very first chapter at the house, where it's like, this isn't the story I know. And he's sort of scolding her for going into town. And he comes out from behind this screen and he's shirtless, and she's understandably uncomfortable and mortified, and tries to give him a robe and is like, you're not going to embarrass me. I don't want him to see me like sweat or blush. Like, but dude, put on a shirt. Like, no
power play.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. And an abusive, but like power plays are always pretty shitty, but like, he's trying to intimidate her. He's trying to make her uncomfortable. He is such a slimy creep. And then he'll be nice. And it makes you think, oh, was it me? Did I just misread it? And it is just like narcissist and or psychopath 101. Just this.
Mm-hmm. It's narcissistic.
Yeah.
You love bomb. You make them fall in love with you.
Mm-hmm. You do nice things, and then you pull the rug out from under them, and suddenly it's your fault that they're upset. They wouldn't be like this
if it wasn't you.
If it wasn't for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Woof. And sorry, that just like hit me to my core. So she confronts him and says, look, dude, I know that Catalina has taken this before and had seizures before. Like, clearly it's not my fault. And he's like, oh, you must be spending too much time with Francis. And he has such distaste for Francis. You can tell he just like thinks Francis is beneath him. He's not even part of the family in his opinion. And Noemi is pissed, and she's like, well, if Catalina is suicidal, then it's your fault, Virgil. And she feels bad because obviously she's a normal person with empathy, and was like, that's a pretty fucked up thing to say. She tries to apologize, but Virgil admits that, technically she's not wrong, that Catalina romanticized him. He's a boy who lost his mother in this terrible tragedy. Then he lost his fortune. Now he's stuck in this, it's playing on that Gothic romance idea of like, oh, this poor prince in a castle who's got sad eyes. I can fix him with my love or whatever. Never the case. Don't try this at home. And he says, the point, I suppose, is that Catalina wanted someone else. She didn't want me flesh and bone and flawed. She was immediately unhappy. And yes, it is my fault. I could not live up to her expectations. What she saw in me was never there. This part reminded me of the end of Labyrinth, when David Bowie is also gaslighting Sarah, is played by Jennifer Connelly. And he's like, I gave you everything you wanted. I stole your baby brother. I am exhausted from living up to your expectations of me. And it's like, oh God, why?
Oh no.
I got really excited.
Did it spill? You're good?
Yeah, it's fine. You are a full-grown man, Goblin King. You kidnapped this baby and a teenage girl. You gross. But sexy when you're young and you don't understand. So he also tells Catalina, look, when I watched Labyrinth as a kid, I was like,
mullets were never my type.
It's not about the mullet. It's
Is it about the...
There are a couple of reasons. We can talk about them on the after show.
Okay. I will write. Should I just write down balls or testicles? What would be?
The pure sexuality of David Bowie. So he tells Naomi that he's been married before to appease his father's wishes. It was sort of arranged, but she had a bunch of miscarriages and she abandoned him. He apologizes for his words the other night. And, they kind of strike a truce. And as Naomi is leaving the room, she sees Francis, who basically ghosts her and pretends like she's not there. She's like, he's obviously also been scolded for helping her. And she's like, damn, I really wish that he's not going to help me anymore. Like, it's too far gone. She tries to talk to Florence about it and just be like, it's my fault. I, pressured him, blah, blah, blah. And Florence says, he's silly when he's with you. He completely forgets who he's supposed to be. And do you think Howard would let him have you?
But it's happening anyway. She's being Heaven.
But Howard is the boss. And he most likely will not let that stand.
Chapter 16.
Yeah, let's go.
Naomi is finally able to visit Catalina, but with a chaperone, one of the maids. Gosh, that was not a well played. It's like obvious,
Yeah.
I have to do it now. Yep. Catalina asks Naomi to read to her, and hidden within the pages of a book of poetry is a folded up note. And Naomi pockets the note, reads to her cousin to keep up the charade. And when it's time for Catalina to rest, Naomi returns to her room to look at the note. This is proof Catalina has written on the outside of it, but it's not a note from her. It's actually a page torn from a diary, Ruth's diary. She writes, I put these thoughts down on paper because it is the only way to remain firm in my resolve. Tomorrow I may lose courage, but these words should anchor me to the here and now, to the present moment. I hear their voices constantly whispering. They glow at night. Perhaps that might be endurable, but this place would be endurable if not for him, our Lord and Master. Our God, an egg split asunder and a mighty serpent rising from it, expanding wide its jaws. Our great legacy spun in cartilage and blood and roots so very deep. Gods cannot die. That is what we have been told, what Mother believes. But Mother cannot protect me, cannot save any of us. It is up to me, whether this is a sacrilege or simply murder or both. He beat me when he found out about Benito, and I swore that there and then, that I would never bear a child nor do his will. I believe firmly this death will be no sin. It is a release and my salvation. Signed, R.
Whoa.
Troubled, Naomi goes to see Francis. His room is covered in drawings, and although he is not conventionally attractive, like Ugo, she finds that she wishes that she could kiss him. I think it's because she's lonely. But she doesn't want to make more of a mess
He's a sweet dude.
He's the only sort of beacon of safety.
People become more attractive when you get to know them.
Yep.
But he's also providing a sense of safety in a very unsafe place.
Yeah.
It's her only ally as well.
Mm-hmm.
She asks him if he thinks that the house is haunted, and he avoids the question. She suggests that ghosts might not be those described in stories, but the kind that people will into existence. That maybe Catalina is not mad, but there is some sort of scientific explanation. Francis grabs her hands and tells her not to speak another word because the noise travels. The spores have ears. He speaks in Spanish for the first time since she arrived at High Place. He insists that she must leave, that just because there are no ghosts, it doesn't mean that you can't be haunted. What? He warns her that Uncle Howard is a monster. Don't trust Howard. Don't trust Florence. And don't trust Virgil. Who wants to take over 17?
Boom, I got it. Trigger warning, chapter 17. Naomi can't sleep and decides to take a bath. She is thinking of Ugo and Francis. And when she's thinking of them, she notices a figure in the doorway. It's Virgil wearing a pinstripe suit and tie. There you are, you pretty little thing, he says. No need to speak, no need to move. She is furious, but realizes she can't move or speak. He's got some kind of power over her. He begins to undress and assaults her again, kissing her with a mouth that tastes sweet. She feels drugged, unable to resist him. She does mention like maybe it's wine and that she kind of like was relaxed because of the sweetness of whatever he had on his mouth or in his mouth. Open her eyes, says a voice. It says open your eyes, right? It keeps saying open your eyes.
Open your eyes. She's
She
like, they
turns-
are.
I'm trying. She turns to look at the ceiling, which is melted away. She steps into another dream. She's no longer in the tub, but in a coffin wrapped in a shroud. But she knows she isn't dead and opens her mouth to yell and tell them. She hears a buzzing like a million bees has suddenly been unleashed and sees a blinding golden light. Ruth stands before her covered in blood. Naomi wakes up in Virgil's room, half naked and dripping wet. He tells her that she sleepwalked into his room. He offers her wine and smiles, that same awful smile he had in her dream. She asks for his lamp so that she can return to her room, but he taunts her. She'd have to walk back in the pitch black darkness, and she's like, I will if you're not going to help me.
Yeah,
She
fuck
gets
you,
the
dude.
feeling he knows exactly what she was dreaming, and when she tells him it was something terrible, he lashes out. Perhaps you were hoping to sleepwalk into Francis's room. So
Gross.
she snatches the lamp from him and returns to her room, terrified and angry. This whole section was very well written, incredibly uncomfortable, and immediately put me in the frame of mind of like, this absolutely did happen, and then somehow through supernatural means or later through the spores that we learn about, the memory is sort of wiped, and that Naomi is put into that sort of vulnerable position where people could be like, oh, you were sleepwalking. It's like, no, that shit happened. That's what I believe. Chapter 18.
Right, you want to send it on?
Sure. So the next day, Naomi has overslept. She feels exhausted, not like her at all. She's still, again, understandably just horrified by this dream and feeling like it felt so real. Why did I suddenly not be able to move and like gave into this? But it's, again, all of this sort of gaslighting, including the gloom and everything that is happening, is really just like manipulating her, and then she's feeling guilty for it. She goes to grab a book and smoke by the window to distract herself. I love that the book she picks up is about Persephone, who gets stolen by Hades and trapped in hell and has to sort of just be his springtime lover. She does not want to do that. And then she obviously is like, this is too on the nose for how I'm feeling right now, and kind of puts the book down, and the mold in the corner of her room starts to move. It's this like eclectic, rearranged itself into eclectic patterns, like a kaleidoscope, this organic madness, all of these twists and turns. She reaches up to kind of touch the section of the wall, and the mold moves again, first away from her hand, like it's skittish, and then it starts pulsating like, yes, come here. And this part freaked me out so much. I was like, no, thank you to this mold. She goes into the bathroom I hate it. She goes into the bathroom to like splash water in her face and go, I am not a hysterical woman. Something is going on, whatever. She goes to see Catalina, and Catalina seems like happy and fine and nothing's wrong, which again, just adding to her feeling like she's the bad one. She's the wrong one. She's misinterpreting everything.
Mm-hmm.
Catalina, basically, Virgil comes to sort of talk to her again. He's wearing the same suit in her dream, which is so upsetting. And he's just teasing her and asking her about it. And this smile and just the sort of like good girl, you know you want it quotes are just so disgusting and abusive and horrible. And I hate Virgil so much, which is why I am still mad at you, Hector. Don't think I'm still mad. Naomi is basically like, I have to get out of here. Take me to the town. I'll write, in her head, she's like, I'll write to my father. Maybe we can send somebody back to get her, but like, I got to get out of here. She's had enough. Virgil, says, you can't go right now. It's raining, but we'll take you tomorrow. We'll take you tomorrow, but let's have one final dinner.
I know. That's a crap. Oh. Get out. Chapter 19, as Naomi packs her bags, she wonders if she's making the right decision. She's dressed up for dinner, kind of armor against the Doyles. The dinner is set up like a celebration, and the Doyles lift their ban on conversation for her last night. Frances looks miserable. Virgil continues to be his usual awful self. Howard. Florence warns that she might have trouble going to town due to this rain that has miraculously come, and the floods have destroyed their mine so many years ago, so obviously the rain's bad. Virgil remarks that they plan to reopen the mine with Catalina's investment. He informs her that they'll be skipping dessert. She must go see Howard to say goodbye. Though Frances protests that it's too early, the only thing he said all evening, they head upstairs. When they reach Howard's room, Naomi knows that something is wrong. The room smells foul, like rotting fruit. Howard is lying naked on the bed, and she's horrified to discover that his leg is swollen and covered with huge pulsing boils. Virgil grabs her arm and brings her closer. She struggles against him, but Florence grabs the other arm and they drag her towards the bed. Howard's mouth is covered in boils, and dark liquid drips out of his mouth and down his chin. And with that, he kisses her, a disgustingly long kiss with goddamn tongue. And she's somewhere else again. A cave. A man drinks that same black liquid among strangers who laugh and encourage him. The man looks like Howard and Virgil, but Naomi knows that she's in some bygone time. She realizes the man is Doyle, a dying man searching for an impossible cure. He discovers the inhabitants of the cave and bribes them with silver, promising that he would take care of them. The cave is a holy site lit up with glowing light of the mushrooms and a pile of bones on an altar. Then Doyle is suddenly healed. He marries one of the women in order to appease the tribe. Though they used the fungus to heal their wounds, he knew that he could use these people to learn their ways and thus become immortal. He knew that now the power was in his blood, and all he had to do is continue that line with his sisters. Doyle murders the priest and he takes over these people. He set all of their possessions on fire, and he takes the woman who is now pregnant away with him. Naomi looks down at herself and sees pustules erupting from her body, the mushrooms growing and slicing through her skin. Open your eyes, she says. Her mouth was full of blood, and she spat out her own teeth. Hector.
Barf. Okay, so now this is the chapter I read to begin with accidentally. So now I'm like Memento. I'm like looking at my own body, giving me clues. Okay. Naomi wakes and has never felt so sick in her life. She thought she had died, living through others' memories and thoughts. Doyle, the snake, who bites its own tail. Frances is with her, tending to her. When she remembers Howard's stained mouth and revolting kiss, she recoils from him, and he tells her it's his job to explain things to her. A long time ago, Howard found a fungus that can extend human life. This is a quote from the book. The fungus, it runs under the house, all the way to the cemetery and back. It's in the walls, like a giant spider's web. In that web, we can preserve memories, thoughts, caught like the flies that wander into a real web. We call that repository of our thoughts, of our memories, the gloom. He explains that fungi can enter into symbiotic relationships with host plants. I mean, we've all seen Venom, we get it. But this one can do it with humans. These memories are echoes, fragments of full memories. Naomi realizes she was right. There is a scientific explanation, however strange. It's the gloom. Most people who come into contact with the fungus die. That's what killed the miners. But not everyone dies. Sometimes the fungus affects their minds, like Catalina or the servants who have almost no mind left. Because the fungus bonds with Howard's bloodline, they are immune. Howard has lived many lives in different bodies over at least 300 years, transferring his consciousness to the gloom and then into one of his children. The bloodline is kept isolated to keep the symbiotic relationship intact. To his family, he is a god, and he wants Naomi to join their family. That's why they made her drink the black sludge. But when Ruth shot him, his power decreased. He tried to impregnate Florence, but he was still too weak and damaged. Then the floods and revolution ruined their fortune, and Howard knew he had to find others to bring into the fold. Florence found Francis's father and brought him to the high place. They had Francis, but the goal was for them to have a daughter to have more heirs. The gloom drove Francis's father mad because he resisted it, and he threw himself down a ravine to end it. If you fight the gloom, like Catalina, it will hurt you. But if you obey, if you join the family, you will bond with it. Naomi can take no more and screams at Frances to leave her. She's still so weak, and suddenly she is sucked back into the gloom again. A giant snake rises up, covered in spores. Then she is in a chamber in front of an intricate altar, and she relives the horrible dream of the woman giving birth. Now she sees what truly happened. Doyle and his sisters ate the child, the flesh of the gods. When they wrapped the woman in cloth and threw her into a pit by the altar, Naomi knew she was not dead, but it didn't matter. This was only a memory. Then she is with Howard in the gloom, who tries to make her drink again. Then he is Virgil grabbing her, and Francis, who tries to speak, but only maggots come out. The snake rises up again, wrapping itself around her. But then a voice tells her to open her eyes. I must remember that, she thought. I must remember to open my eyes. This shit got crazy.
Yeah. I wanna just shout out a couple of things. I know we're going a little bit over, but that's okay because we're having fun. I think that this, you know, the pregnant woman from this holy site that he takes with him, there's sort of this thought where he's like, she won't do for actual for continuing my bloodline, but I have a purpose for her. And so it feels like this is this sort of, you know, cannibalistic ritual to keep not just these bloodlines going through incest, but also through eating, you know, children that maybe aren't up to par. Like, lucky for Francis that he's okay.
My belly.
No, no, Hector, no.
Oh, he's like a baby.
No.
Out of that white meat. Oh,
Eat it.
Baby back, baby back, baby back.
No.
Baby back, babes. Do you guys remember the movie from 2000? I think 2000, 1999. Oh, that's a 20-year-old comedy. I'm sorry.
What is going? I mean, I'm just going to keep reading the book. You look, yeah, your homework. Finish the book, guys. Make sure you pick up a copy of our next book as well, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It looks like this. Thank you so much, Hector Navarro. You can check out all the previous episodes of Nerdist Book Club on Nerdist's YouTube or on Geek and Sundry's Twitch. Just make sure you like and subscribe. Straight after this, though, we are going to talk about pustules, boils, infestations,
Gross.
and all that fun stuff on the after show, which is happening on Geekbomb's Discord. If you do want to jump into that one, all you have to do is head to patreon.com/geekbomb, sign up for any tier, and you'll immediately get access to Playing, Watching, Reading, and Book Club, which is where we do these shows. It is a voice call, so we all just sit and actually just chat, but you guys get to participate in the conversation as well because we're all reading it. We want to hear your thoughts too. Thank you so much for letting us go over a little bit as well. Really appreciate it. Hector Navarro, Rachel Heine. Wait, you're that way. Hector Navarro, Rachel Heine. It's been amazing. We get to all finish the book now. Good luck getting the next book. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.